Hey guys, what's going on? And in this video, I have a second place regional finish deck profile. Alex Dominguez, he has won one of the most recent Attack of the Giant cards in North America. He finished top cut in the most recent Extravaganza main event. And he's here today with his second place regional deck profile, Sword Soul, and is ready to pilot fit for you today. Alex, how you doing?
Good, man. How's it going? I'd love to be on the channel.
Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm not bad.
Yeah.
So you got the spice.
Yeah, Sword Soul, you know how it goes. I just before we get into it, just big shout outs to you, Jamie, who taught me how to play Sword Soul. The Broken Code, who's always been testing. You guys are amazing. Jake is an amazing coach. Just letting you guys know, this guy's amazing. I won a giant card, got second place, and I only started playing competitive for like the past 2 years. So I've grown a lot and still opportunities to go. So we'll check it out.
Very kind of you. Great. Okay. Let's see this profile, man. Let's get into this.
All right, let's do it. So I broke it up into different sections. We'll start off with the Sword Soul section. So this is Sword Soul Moyi. Basically your normal summon most of the time. But on normal or special, you can reveal a worm or a Sword Soul card and then summon a token. And this deck is basically all tokens. You can synchro it off. When he uses a synchro material, you could draw a card. So really good for resource management. Really good for chain blocking. He's just insane. You have to absolutely play him at 3. And when I go over a card in the extra deck, you'll see I'll talk a little bit about the combos that I do and why I play some ratios in the extra deck because of this card. So 3 Moyi, which is pretty standard. 3 Long Young. This card is crazy. It allows you to play through interruptions or play around interruptions. In hand, you could discard a worm or social card, special summon him and summon a token, all one effect, all in hand. And then when he's used that synchro material, you burn for 12. So this is, after a couple burns, you're already in range to kill your opponent, which is insane. So this card is amazing. It didn't come up in time, so I didn't kind of cheese anybody with the whole kind of burn, but he's pretty good. So you play 3 of him. You only play 2 Taya. So this card is it's not an on-summon effect, but when it's face up on the field, you can banish a Sword Soul or a Worm card from your graveyard and then summon a token. He's actually really good after turn 1, but you can't play 3 of him because you're gonna brick yourself, at least in my testing. Other cool effect, which comes up a lot, is when he's used as synchro material, you can Foolish Burial a Worm or a Sword Soul card, and that effect is huge in the combos. Most of the times you're actually using him as a material and Foolish Burying Moyi to go into kind of your big combo plays. So it's pretty insane. Tai is a really good card, but definitely not at 3. You're gonna brick yourself. 3 Emergence. This is Rhoda, and then if you have a synchro on the field, you can search a worm. So this card's obviously, you're gonna play 3 Rhoda. The banish effect comes up. It actually came up once during one of my rounds where you can increase or reduce the level of one of your Sword Soul or synchro monsters. And I ended up reducing level one of my Chi Chaos to go into another one to really extend my plays. So banish comes up, not really much, but it comes up a couple times. But Rhoda, you play it. Mm-hmm. 1 Summit. I saw some people playing more than 1, but this card is really, it really is a brick. And it's searchable. You can search it off Chi Chao when it needs to be. So really, you really only need that 1. The banish effect same as Emergence here, where it's level modulation, so nothing too crazy. And then 2 of Blackout. I saw some people think about 3. I played 2. You really don't want to break yourself with this card either. The banish effect is very good, and it complements very well with Taya, where if Blackout is banished, you can summon a token. So if you use Taya, banish the Blackout, and they imprint the Taya, then in the next chain you could activate Blackout and still summon the token. So it's one way of kind of cheesing people that don't really know how to play the deck or play against it. And obviously, it's an Icarus attack. So you pop your worm, pop 2 cards on their field, and it's really good. Very good against control. Very good when they're trying to combo off. So this card is really good. Obviously, you search her off Chi-Chao. That's really kind of the Sword Soul package. You don't play the other one. There's another one that activates in hand when something battles, but you don't play that one. That one's terrible. Now getting to the best part of the deck, the Tenyi. So Ashina, 3 Ashina, 3 Vishuddha, and 3 Adhara. You definitely want to max out on these cards. These cards are the best cards in the deck. Ashina, so all the Tenyis, when you control an effect monster, they are summoning themselves. Activated hand. And all their banished effects are Ashina, summon from deck. Vishuddha is the more known one, where you target a card in your opponent's field and return it to the hand. And Adara is where you're targeting a card in your banished and adding it back to hand. And this card is insane in the grind. So you're adding back, the Longyungs that you banished with the Taie, the Mois you banished with the Taie, and whatnot, or even on Ashina for a follow-up play. So this card is really, really good. And you want to max out on these. I saw a lot of people just playing kind of 2 of these, but I think that's incorrect because when you open up the Tenyis, you're basically playing through a lot of interruptions. You want to at least open up 2. So if you open up Ashina plus one of these, you're going to be able to get into a Synchro 8 without normally summoning and then searching off Chi-Chao to extend your plays. So it's pretty insane. So these cards are just like, yeah, in my opinion, this is like the best part of the deck. I know some people are playing kind of the pure version, but the Tenyis are just insane to not play. And then probably the most insane card in the deck is Vessel of the Dragon Cycle. So it is Foolish Burial with a plus. So if you Foolish Burial and then you control a non-effect monster, you can then search a Tenyi with a different name of the worm that you Foolish. So it gives you so much follow-up. Really builds up your resources and really builds your graveyards that you can use to summon back with extra deck monster that I have later on. So that's Tenyis. I then try to complement the deck with kind of the more, I would say, defensive cards and really good impact. So, Ash, nothing too crazy, it's Ash. I played 1 Infinite Permanence and 1 Effect Veiler. There is a card that I'm siding that is called Crossout Designator, which is why I'm main decking 1 of each. It's also this is good against like Flunderies, good against the Mirror. So these 2 are really good, and obviously these cards are very good against Sword Soul, so that's why they're my cross targets. I'm main decking them. Then going on into kind of power spells, it's going to be 3 Pot of Desires. Your Pot of Greed is very good. Your banishes can kind of mess you up a little bit, depending on, it just varies. But Pot of Greed in this deck is definitely appreciated. So first power spell, Desires. I then play 3 Droplets. Droplets is very, very, very good, especially in this deck. You can dodge those Imperms and Veilers. You can really, really play around Token Collector, which I haven't seen much, but that can be a thing. Play around Token Collector. And I know a lot of people are playing Chalice. I really just wanted to have a go second chance to go second against like really good boards like the Flunderies that put up a bear statue, the Lyrless deck that puts up like 3 monsters that you got to deal with, and Drytron. This basically won me my Drytron matchups having a Droplet, so it's insane, really insane card. And then I played 2 Tactics, 1 Call By. So the main deck is 40. I didn't want to bring it up to 3 Tactics. I really heavily favored the Droplets and the Desires over playing 3 Tactics. I wanted to keep it 40, and Call By is extremely, extremely good. During the Phantom Knights deck that plays kind of the artifact package, you can Call By the Scythe and not basically get locked out from the extra deck. So I think this card is very, very good this format. So that's basically the main deck with the 3 packages. Then I'll go into the extra deck. So
is there anything with the main, Alex, is there anything with the main deck you would change from your result, like from the weekend for experience?
Yeah, I'd probably. I did like the Droplets. I probably would potentially swap them out for a little bit more hand traps, maybe more Imperms, more Veilers. It depends really what people are going to start playing now. Flunderies is a deck that I'm extremely scared of, because once that deck gets going, it just is very hard to beat, and they summon the Berry Statue. So that card is very scary to me. So I probably might swap out the droplets for more hand traps.
Okay.
But in terms of Tenyi and the Sword Soul cards, definitely not. I know there's a Tenyi, there's another Tenyi Spirit card that protects. It basically triggers off when your non-effect monster is destroyed by battle. It triggers, banishes, and then summons back the non-effect and pops your opponent's monster. I think it's like the water one. I think that one's interesting. It could come up in a couple game states, but I'd have to test it out more. I wouldn't play it at 3. You can kind of mess around with the Tenyis a little bit more, because as I mentioned, this is probably the best part of the deck. So trying to add in more kind of pieces that complement this would probably be better as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't touch the Sword Soul stuff. I think that's kind of solid there.
Sure.
All right, the extra deck. 3 Monk of the Tenyi, Shaman, and Berserker. You play 3 of this. Some people are playing 2. Some people are playing 1. The Tenyis, because I'm maxing out on the Tenyis, very often turn 1 you make 2 of these, and you want the third one as follow-up to continue comboing off. Comes up, so you play 3. Shaman comes up in very awkward games. So basically, Shaman is you discard a card, then target a worm in your graveyard, special summon it, but then you're locked into Tenyis for the rest of the turn. So it kind of helps you play through interruptions, and it helps you at certain opportunities go for game. It also has a very secret effect that came up only once, where if an attack is declared involving a non-effect monster, you can pop a card. So you can kind of look into crashing your monk, and then pop a card on an attack declaration. So it kind of catches your opponent off guard. Not a lot of people know that second effect, and it's pretty good. But because when you summon off the monster after discarding, you're locked into Tenyis. That's why you play the Draco Berserker. This card is pretty good. You can it gains the attack multiple times on opponent's monsters. But most important effect is that when your opponent activates a monster effect, you could chain to it and banish it. That's important because when your opponent will activate Token Collector, you can use this effect and banish the Token Collector. So you basically, if you have a really strong hand, you summon this first, and you can basically play around. Token card is good, but you're mainly playing it because after you summon off Shaman, you're locked. Okay. So you need something to go into. So that's the Tenyis 5 slots of the extra. And going into my other favorite part of the extra deck, so the Yang Zings. Yazi, really good. So it's level 7. It comes up where sometimes you'll have Long Young, and then you have kind of the Adara in hand. So that'll be a 7. This card is really good. Can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects. So if you know they have a target, maybe like a Widow Anchor or something, this will protect. Then it can pop. You can pop a Yang Zing on your field and pop a card your opponent controls. And then when he's destroyed by card effect, you can summon out any worm from deck. Mm-hmm. So insane. I mean, this card gets you any monster you need in the deck, besides like Valor and Ash, obviously. So it's really good. Baxia is probably the best card in the extra deck. On Synchro Summon, you can shuffle back cards on the field up to the number of different attributes used for material. So if you use Tae, which is a wind, and then the token, which is a water, you can shuffle back 2. But more importantly, the second effect is you can target a card you control, destroy it, and then special summon a level 4 from your graveyard that you targeted as well. So what I was mentioning earlier is that you can kind of quick little combo. You can do Tae, banish, summon the token, Tae, going to Baxia, Tae, Foolish the Moyi, Baxia, pop something or itself, summon out the Moyi, and then Moyi reveal, summon the token, and go into the Chichao. So it's kind of like a little combo there to really build up your resources, and that's why I'm playing 3 of this card. This actually came with my discussions with Jamie. Me and him were theorying about this He had a really good point on this card, and I really enjoy it. I mean, there's times you go into two, and obviously the third one, similar to how Monk of Tenyi,
Yeah.
I mentioned that the third one comes up. It's insane. This card's really good.
Okay.
And then, of course, Chao Fang. So Baxia, as I mentioned, it will summon back a level 4 lore. You don't have to pop itself. You can pop any card. So then a lot of times you will be summoning back the Adara. And then Adara is a level 1 tuner. This is a level 8 synchro going to your level 9 synchro Chao Fang. Chao Fang has a really, really awesome effect where depending on the attribute of Yang Zing monsters used to create it, your opponent cannot activate those monster effects. So versus Drytron, you will use this as synchro material to go into Chao Fang, and they can activate light effects. And that's how I won a lot of my Drytron games.
Nice.
Literally just a floodgate. And then, when your opponent finally outs it by a card effect or battle, you can then search a tuner from deck. So you can search the Ash or the Veiler in my deck. It's just insane. It brings a follow-up. It's really, really good. A lot of things to notice is that because Blackout does pop, so this basically triggers off the Blackout. You'll pop 2 of them, then you can search your hand trap. So there's a lot of good synergy with this card.
Okay.
One thing that you probably noticed in my main deck that I don't play is Ecclesia, the Incredible Ecclesia. I've been testing it with and without it. I think the card is not very good. I can see people playing it, I understand it, but the reason I'm bringing it up now is because this is obviously can search the Ecclesia, and Ecclesia being a good card. I just think it kind of bricks my hands more than anything. It's also not a worm. It's a spellcaster, so kind of going back to the point where I think the Tenyies is the best part of the deck. Ecclesia really doesn't complement the Tenyies that well. So I haven't played it. Doesn't mean it's incorrect to play it. It depends on the ratios, but in this specific deck, I did not play Ecclesia, and I definitely didn't miss it. So, pretty solid. All right, so that's Yang Zings. Okay, we're going into the Sword Soul synchros. So we have Chi Chao and Cheng Ying. I think I'm saying that right. So level 8 and level 10. Chi Chao is really, really good. So when it's synchro summoned, you can search a Sword Soul card or worm from your deck to your hand. This is usually searching the Long Young if you don't have it, or searching the Blackout to make sure you have a good interruption versus your opponent. Its second effect is you can target one other effect monster, banish a card from the graveyard, and by card I mean Sword Soul card or worm, and then negate that monster that you targeted. So really good. Blackout. To pop, let's say this is still on the field, you can then negate a monster, banish the Blackout, and then get the token, which gives you follow-up for next turn. So it's just a lot of good synergy with this, and it's just really, really good. I really love this card. I think I said it right. Cheng Yang.
Yeah.
Level 10, you make this when you're worm locked, because the light dude, when he summons from deck for banishing, you're locked into worms. So you make him when you're worm locked. This guy's really good. So he gains 100 attack and defense for every banished card, and with desires he gets pretty big. Then, if a card is banished, like using the effect for Chi Chao to banish to negate, if a card is banished, you can then target a card on the field, on your opponent's field and your opponent's graveyard, and banish both of them. So it's just so good. It synergizes very well with the Tenyies as well. As you're trying to combo with the Tenyies, you can start interrupting your opponent. And then on top of that, if he's going to be destroyed by card effect, you can banish a card. The kind of cool interaction with this card is going back to Blackout. You could Blackout target Cheng Yang and 2 cards your opponent controls. Blackout resolves, Cheng Yang will banish. And Resolving Chain, Cheng Yang will activate because the card was banished. To protect itself, to banish 2 more cards in your opponent's graveyard and field. This card is really, really good.
Nice.
I'm a big fan of it. All right, and the last 2 cards are, well, really it's just one flex spot, but I'll just put it here. Baron the Floor. This card is really good. It's going to be splashed in so many decks. I saw this card everywhere in the regional. Some guy was making this to, in the standby phase, summon back the Scythe and trigger Scythe. It was just insane. This card is really good. So level 10 synchro. While only once while it's on the field, you can negate a card or effect. The activation. So good in general. Then during either player's standby phase, you can target a card in your graveyard, put this back into the extra deck, and then summon that card in the graveyard. And it has to be a level 9 or lower from your graveyard, but you're usually fine. Then, for whatever reason, on your turn, not a quick effect, but on your turn, you can target a card on the field and pop it. So this card just has so much going on. After I use the negate during my standby phase, I usually did bounce it out, summon out a Mohi, trigger the Mohi during the standby phase, summon token, and then just start playing off. This card is just, it's amazing in this deck. Really good. And the one flex spot, a lot of people are playing Shen. I play the Rudy Rose Dragon. Basically, I actually never summoned this, just because I was in a good position most of the games. Basically summon this, and it banishes all cards in both players' graveyards. So, for example, against Drytron, when they're in a position that they're top decking, which happens quite a lot in Drytron, you summon this, banish everything, and regardless of what they top deck, it's not going to be useful. So this comes up a lot versus graveyard decks. I like the Rudy Rose. Pretty cool. It's just my personal preference. Shen is really good as well, but it's what I went for. And that's the extra deck. Pretty insane. All right, so now getting to the side. All right, so I alluded to it earlier, Crossout Designator. I was really just testing out this card. I think it was okay. I know it got really popular and then people stopped playing it. I think it was okay. It came up. It came up where I crossed out the droplets and my opponent's activated and he didn't send a spell. So it kind of won me the game. So, nice. Besides that, it was okay. The cool thing about Crossout is that because it does banish a card, you can use it kind of offensively to banish a card from your deck, whatever you call maybe a blackout, and then trigger the Shenyang. Because a card was banished, then you could trigger and then banish a card from the field and the graveyard. So it really has good synergy with Shenyang, which is what I like the most about it. Crossout. Lancia is really good versus Flunderies versus PK versus Virtual World. A good card. Didn't come up at all during the regional just because of my matchups, but really good card in general. Then for the back row hates, it's Cosmics and Duster. Cosmics mainly for the mirror to hit their blackout, and for Mystic Minds, which are always fun to deal with, and then Harpies. Didn't want to play Lightning Storm. I just felt like Harpies was just better because I'm always either token on the field or something. So I just wanted to be cautious with that.
Okay.
2 nibs, crossouts, and really crossout targets. And I also just want to have a second one just in case it did come up. It came up quite a lot. I played against a deck that was kind of a Megalith virtual variant where this card just won. So Nib is still a good card. As you saw, I play a lot of droplets and stuff like that, but Nib is still good. In this specific deck, you have to just be a little careful because once you have the Nib on your field, you have an effect monster, which your Tenyis really don't like to see. Yep. You just have to be a little bit careful with Nib. And then my one-ofs, Imperial Order. I don't know, this card is still legal, so it's you gotta play it. And the best part about Imperial Order in this deck is that, as I mentioned, you can pop it with either a Yazi, you can pop it with Baron, because Baron targets any card on the field. So if you're in a tough situation where you need to pop your own Imperial Order, your synchros can bail you out. So it's Imperial Order really doesn't hurt you at all.
Okay.
So you play it. Pankatops, really good. Should be more than one. And then Archimedes Protos. So this card, I'm testing out really good in theory. So you can banish 3 different attributes from your graveyard or field to summon him from hand. Then you can call one attribute that's on the field So if there's only a dark on the field, i.e. himself, you call dark. You destroy all dark monsters on the field, and then until the end of the next turn, nobody can special summon dark monsters. That's just an example. This card's very good versus Dragonlance. Obviously, if you have a light on the field, you destroy the lights. Very good versus sometimes either the mirror. Very good versus Drytron. What I like about this card is that it kind of gave me some type of protection versus the Lyreless deck, which is what I'm afraid of. So on occasion, I put out the Baron. It is a wind. You will pop, you call wind, destroy the Baron, which comes at a cost, but you'll basically lock out your opponent from the special summoning winds, which is really good. The best part about this card is that it cannot be destroyed by card effects. So, going back to that really good trap card, Blackout, it is a worm. You can target it and destroy your opponent's 2 cards, and it won't be destroyed.
Nice.
So, really good. And on top of that, as I mentioned, it's a worm. You can reveal it off for your Moe. You can discard it for Long Young. So it has synergy with the deck as well. So really good. It came up a couple times during the tournament. I like it. Maybe you could play more than one, but because it is searchable, obviously with the Rota. So it depends on how the format goes. But yeah, basically the deck and all its glory. It's a very good deck.
Right.
I still a lot of opportunities to learn from it, but pretty awesome.
And how was your tournament? So you finished, was it X1? You went 5-1?
Yes, I finished X1. I lost to John Wilkins Drytron, which is a very good match. Second place, yeah, X1. So good tournament. I think there's a lot of couple Drytrons I played against. There was a Mystic Mind, which actually has a really good matchup versus SWORDSOUL, so I kind of struggled through that one. Played a couple combos. There was a solid player. Did not play any mirrors actually, so it's interesting. I was expecting quite a lot of mirrors, which Cross Out is really good in the mirror, obviously.
Yep.
But didn't play many. So it was a lot of good rarity. The format's wide open.
Okay. All right. Great. All right, Alex. Thank you for the deck profile. Any final words?
No, thank you so much, Jake.
Anytime,
You're
man.
amazing.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate the time.
No problem, bro. Thanks for that profile. Sounds great. All right, guys. If you want to check it out, if you want to play SWORDSOUL, then this is basically how you play it. All right, guys. Look at yourselves. And Alex, take care.